history of TB Europe Coalition is an interesting one. It's an organization that has changed its focus at least once. Originally, it was created by civil society, non-governmental organization activists in Western Europe. There were a number of us in the early noughties who were concerned about pushing the European Union to do more for tuberculosis and to start making links with groups further east. There was one attempt of an organization that failed, the Stop TB Partnership Europe, where Stop TB Partnership Global actually put up some money to pay for a staff member who was attached to International Red Cross and Red Crescent. And I was involved in that, but we got lost in conversations about structure and constitution, and we didn't actually get to do anything very much. And when no money came after a couple of years, we weren't able to find alternative funding. That everybody had rather naively thought that the European Union would be an easy touch. It wasn't. And by the end of 2008, it had disappeared. But about this time, the French organization Global Health Advocates appointed a person to be their lobby, their advocacy person in Brussels, running the corridors of the European Union. And they agreed that this person should spend a good part of their time on tuberculosis-specific activity. That was a woman called Charlotte Goyon who was appointed, and early on she convened a meeting which took place in the middle of 2009, which I recently found the minutes of. And in a way, one can call that meeting the founding meeting of TBEC. We mostly talked about how we were going to collaborate on lobbying the European Parliament. Only right at the end of the meeting, there was a little agenda item which was, how might we continue to link up with each other? And do we need to do anything about Eastern Europe? And it was agreed that none of us knew anybody in Eastern Europe, and that we really ought to, and that we ought to have a bit of an organization to do anything. So we rather casually said, okay, we're the TB Europe Coalition. One of our Dutch members, Beatrice Stickers, had begun using that phrase. And we said, that sounds okay. And I was asked to start poring over the address lists held by Stop TB Geneva and other people that might help us know who to try and talk to in the East.
My personal involvement started in 2007, helping to organize the ministerial conference on TB response in the Euro region. And at that conference, the 52 countries of the region signed up to step up the TB response. And from civil society, we made an offer of partnership to the national NTPs and governments that we would be helpful as partners. A next moment was around 2009 when we interested Dorette Corbey, a Dutch Euro parliamentarian, and she sponsored a petition in which we reached out to almost all members of parliament to sign up. We only had a very short window of time, but in 40 weeks we got, I think, about 30 to 40% of Euro parliamentarians to sign this petition, which was quite a feat, but didn't lead anything to anywhere because it was the end of the term. But in doing this, what we found out that there was a hurdle that we didn't have a list or inventory of what are the civil society organizations across the region. So then, while KNCV had led this initiative, at the end, Patrick Bertrand of Action for Health or proposed, let's organize the civil society in the region. And so that's where the TB Europe coalition was framed. And we really said, what are we missing? We want to have at each national level patient organization, a national Stop TB partnership type of activity, and where it's a way to convene people at national level and to collaborate with and demand action on TB. What we said is it's really convening that national voice and connect it with the regional peers. And that's what we set out to do as TB Europe Coalition, going to various countries, especially in the eastern part of the region, to set up this response. And this really was about shaping the partnership, the offer of partnership by civil society, and shape it.
So that meeting, June of 2009, is the creation, but a rather accidental and casual creation, of TBEC. But that led to Charlotte Gaillon, myself, making contact initially in Ukraine. And we visited Ukraine in 2010. And that was the first of several visits to Eastern European countries, where we were trying to connect with local civil society and have conversations with them about what kind of advocacy would be helpful, and how we might coordinate.